My name is Harper Llewellyn, and I'm 35 years old. If you had asked me a year ago what my life felt like, I would have said steady. Not glamorous, not chaotic, just a predictable rhythm I could build my days around. I liked that. I liked knowing where I stood. I liked routines that held me down the way ballast keeps a ship from capsizing. Back then, the center of that steady life was my boyfriend, Evan Rhodes. We met when I was 33. He was 30, a project coordinator for a tech startup, charming in the easy, unintentional way people sometimes are. We matched on a dating app, grabbed drinks 2 nights later, and within a few months, he'd become the one person I told everything to. He wasn't perfect, not attentive enough sometimes, occasionally too invested in whatever was happening on his phone. But he was warm, affectionate, fun. At least he used to be. Everything shifted 6 months ago when he moved to a bigger team at work. New projects, new responsibilities, and a new coworker. Her name was Lila Moreno. The first day he mentioned her, it was nothing. "We got assigned a new designer, super talented, kind of funny," he said while scrolling through his messages. I didn't think anything of it. People talk about coworkers all the time. But then it turned into Lila this, Lila that. Lila had this great idea today. Lila knows the best coffee places. You would have laughed so hard if you heard what Lila said in the meeting. He wasn't saying anything outwardly inappropriate, not yet, but there was a tone in his voice, a brightness, a warm edge I hadn't heard from him in months. And every time he said her name, I felt something in my stomach coil, small and sharp, like a pin dragged along the inside of a balloon. Over the next few weeks, the signs piled up like dust on surfaces you forget to clean. Evan began working late more often. Team drinks, project reviews that somehow needed another hour, brainstorm sessions that apparently couldn't be scheduled during the workday. He angled his phone away when he typed. He took calls in the hallway. When I asked how his day went, he'd shrug off details he used to share naturally. A part of me kept insisting there was nothing to worry about. Another part, the quieter part, kept whispering the truth. He wasn't choosing me anymore, not really. 2 weeks before everything fell apart, something happened that pushed me from uneasy suspicion into undeniable clarity. Evan had left his laptop open on the kitchen counter, logged in, messaging app open. I should have walked past it. I should have respected his privacy. That's what the good girlfriend in me tried to say. But then another voice answered, "You're not snooping. You're confirming what you already feel." My hand moved before my guilt could stop it. I didn't have to scroll far. Messages between him and Lila lit up the screen, months of them. Not sexual, but worse in a way that felt more personal. Intimate jokes, complaints about me being too serious or not getting his humor. Him calling Lila brilliant. Lila calling him adorable. Plans for lunch. Drinks, just the two of us. Inside jokes that had histories I wasn't part of. At one point, Lila wrote, "I don't know how your girlfriend doesn't appreciate you." And Evan replied with a flushed emoji. My hands shook while I took screenshots of every thread. I didn't cry, not yet. Something inside me just hardened, like metal cooling after being bent too many times. I didn't say a word to him that night, or the next, or the one after. Instead, I watched, observed, measured. I needed to see whether he'd pull back on his own, whether guilt would get to him, whether he'd step up and try to repair what he'd been slowly tearing apart. He didn't. Which brings me to 3 nights ago. Evan came home around 6, tossed his jacket onto a chair, kissed my cheek like everything was fine, and said, "Hey, so slight change of plans for tonight." We had a date scheduled, our first real one in weeks. We were supposed to go to our favorite Italian place, reconnect, talk, try to find each other again. "What kind of change?" I asked. He didn't even look guilty. "Lila's joining us. That okay? She had a rough week. Thought it'd cheer her up." I stared at him. "You invited your coworker to our date night?" "It's not like that," he laughed. "Relax. She's just fun. Way more fun than you sometimes." That joke wasn't a joke. It stung, sharply. He didn't notice. I swallowed, steadied myself, then said, "Sure, sounds fine." He grinned, completely unaware that he'd just handed me the last missing piece of evidence I needed. The dinner was at 7 p.m. I wish I could say I was surprised by what happened there, but I wasn't. Evan and Lila might as well have been on a date together. They leaned toward each other, whispered things I couldn't hear, erupted into laughter over stories I wasn't part of. I tried to join the conversation, 3 times. Each attempt was met with polite acknowledgement, then immediate return to their two-person world. 40 minutes in, the realization settled in quietly, like dust. I wasn't his partner anymore. I was a placeholder, a witness, a background prop. The server came to check on us. Evan and Lila were mid-joke. I caught the server's eye. Could I get the check for my meal only? She blinked. Just yours? Just mine. 5 minutes later, she brought it. I slipped cash inside. Then I stood up. Evan finally looked over. What are you doing? You two seem like you've got this covered, I said calmly. I'm heading home. Oh, come on, Harper. Don't be dramatic. I'm not. And I wasn't. I was done. I walked out. Didn't turn around when he called my name. Didn't slow down when I heard Lila whisper something behind me. Didn't look back even once. I didn't go straight home. I drove to a coffee shop a few blocks away and sat there until the sky darkened, thinking through every detail with a clarity that felt almost surgical. At 10 p.m., I finally returned to the apartment. Evan wasn't home yet. Good. I went to the bedroom, packed a week's worth of clothes into a duffel, then returned to the dining table. I took the printed screenshots from my car, the ones I'd prepared days earlier, and laid them neatly beside the spot where Evan always dropped his keys. On top of the stack, I placed my house key. Then I set down a note I had written moments earlier. Since Lila is more fun than me anyway, you'll have plenty of time together now. We're done. Don't contact me. Everything you need to know is in those messages. I walked out, and for the first time in months, I felt steady again. Only later would Evan learn exactly what that meant. I spent that night at my friend Maya Collins's place. Someone I'd known since college, someone who never asked intrusive questions, someone who understood that silence can be a kind of kindness. When she opened her door and saw me with a duffel slung over my shoulder, mascara smudged under my eyes, she didn't say, "What happened?" She just stepped aside and said, "Come in." I didn't tell her anything until morning. When I finally turned my phone on, it felt like stepping into a storm. 68 notifications, missed calls, texts, voicemails, every single one from Evan. The messages came in waves, each one exposing a different version of him. Confusion. Harper, where did you go? Call me. Annoyance. Okay, seriously, you just left? That was rude. Discovery. What are these papers on the table? Did you go through my messages? Anger. You had no right to read private conversations. That's toxic, Harper. Panic. We need to talk. Please call me. Desperation. I'm sorry. I screwed up, okay? It's not what you think. There it was, the entire cycle, delivered in real time, each message contradicting the one before it. I didn't answer. I didn't even screenshot them. I just read them with a strange emotional distance, like they belonged to someone else's life. Maya finally walked in with 2 steaming mugs of coffee, her hair piled on top of her head in a messy bun. You ready? She asked gently. So I told her. Everything. The messages, the dinner, the note, the screenshots. She didn't interrupt once. When I finished, she let out a long, slow breath. Harper, I'm sorry, but I'm proud of you. I nodded. My throat tightened a little. It was the only way. Yeah. And you know what? You didn't yell. You didn't throw anything. You didn't make a scene. You just showed him the truth and left. That's more strength than most people ever manage. It should have comforted me, and part of it did, but another part, smaller, more wounded, kept whispering, why didn't he choose you? Why wasn't you enough? But I pushed that thought away. Not because it wasn't real, but because entertaining it would be like reopening a wound with my bare hands. Around noon, there was a knock on Maya's door. My stomach dropped. Maya looked through the peephole. He found you, she muttered. Evan's voice seeped through the door. Please, Maya, just let me talk to her. 5 minutes, that's all. Maya stepped out onto the porch, blocking the doorway with her body. No, she doesn't want to see you. His voice cracked. I need to explain. There's nothing to explain. She saw the messages. She saw how you treated her at dinner. She knows enough. It's not like that, he insisted. Lila and it wasn't serious. Harper takes everything so literally. I was just a pause. I was stupid, okay? I didn't think it was hurting her. Maya crossed her arms. Evan, you told another woman she was more fun than your girlfriend. You flirted with her for months. You lied. You hid things. Don't pretend ignorance. I heard him inhale sharply. Please, he whispered, broken. Just let me talk to her. I'll stand right here. She can stay inside. I need her to know I didn't choose Lila. Maya's voice stayed flat. You didn't have to say it out loud. You showed it. A beat of silence. Then I heard soft, desperate sobs. Evan's. He was crying, actually crying. And maybe another version of me, the older version, the softer version, would have gone out there, would have taken pity, would have believed him. But that version of me had died somewhere between the whispered jokes at the restaurant and the flushed emojis on his screen. After a minute, Maya stepped back inside and closed the door quietly. "He's gone," she said. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. The next day, Evan tried a new angle. "Evan, I told Lila we're done. I blocked her. I choose you. Please talk to me." I didn't respond. An hour later, "Evan, nothing physical happened. It was just emotional. I was stupid. Please give me a chance to explain." I didn't respond. By evening, "Evan, if you won't talk to me, I'm going to your parents. They need to know what's going on." That earned him exactly one reply from me. "Me. Feel free. They already know. I told them yesterday. They agree I made the right choice." No response came after that. Monday morning, I called my landlord. "Hi, I need to ask about removing someone from my apartment." He looked up my information. "He's not on your lease, correct?" "No, he was just staying there." "In that case, you can give him 30 days notice to vacate." So I did. "Me, Evan. You have 30 days to find a new place and move out. I'll return next week to get my things. Don't contact me again." I blocked his number. 10 minutes later, he called me from a different one. I answered only because I thought it might be work. "Harper," he said, breathless. "Please, please don't hang up. I know you're angry." "I'm not angry," I said calmly. "I'm done." "Just let me explain." There's nothing left to explain. I saw the messages. I sat through that dinner. I watched you choose her over me for months. "I didn't choose her," he yelled. We didn't. "I don't care if it was physical," I cut in. "You were building something with her while letting me believe we were fine. That's enough." A choked sound. "I love you." "Maybe you did," I said softly, "but you didn't respect me." Then I hung up and blocked that number too. A week later, another unexpected twist erupted. Lila had gone to HR and accused Evan of harassing her, claiming he pursued her, pressured her, crossed boundaries. HR investigated. When they dug into their messages, the truth came out. They were equal participants. Flirting, inside jokes, constant private meetups. In the end, HR decided the situation was too messy. They fired both of them. Evan tried calling from a third number after that. "You happy now?" he hissed. "I lost my job because of you." "No," I replied. "You lost your job because you lied to HR." "I did it to fix things with us." "There is no us." Click, block. 3 weeks passed. When I returned to the apartment with Maya, Evan was gone, his things packed. The place left untouched. A small miracle, all things considered. But he had left a letter on the kitchen counter, a long, emotional, rambling apology about how he got caught up in Lila's attention, how he never intended to cheat, how he wanted therapy, a second chance, anything I'd give him. I read it once, then I put it in the trash, because something inside me had changed so permanently that even his tears, his sincerity, his regret, none of it mattered anymore. What he broke wasn't repairable, and I wasn't going back. It's strange how quickly life rearranges itself once the chaos stops. 2 months have passed since the night I walked out of that restaurant. 2 months since I laid out the screenshots, the note, and my key on the dining table like a final, wordless verdict. I live alone again now, and for the first time in a long while, the apartment feels like mine. The first week after Evan moved out, I spent an entire afternoon rearranging the furniture. Not out of anger, there was nothing angry left in me, but to reclaim the space. To undo the subtle imprint of someone who had slowly stopped seeing me while sitting right beside me. I replaced the throw pillows he chose with ones I actually liked. I moved the couch 2 feet to the left. I donated the cheap beer glasses he insisted on keeping. I opened windows and let new air in. It sounds small, but every change felt like stitching something back together inside myself. The quiet felt different now. Not heavy, not suspicious, not lonely, just peaceful. My routines returned first. Morning coffee, color-coded spreadsheets open every Sunday at 5 p.m. The dishwasher humming at 12:00 a.m. to catch off-peak power rates. The gym 3 times a week. Dinner with Maya every other Friday. A walk around the block when my mind felt cluttered. Steady, predictable, grounding. For a moment, it almost felt like I'd stepped back into my old life, except I wasn't the same person returning to it. Something in me had sharpened. Not hardened, not bitter, just clearer. I could finally see the exact moment things broke. Not the messages, not the lies, not even the late nights. It was that dinner. Sitting across from him while he leaned toward another woman as if I were invisible. That moment didn't make me angry. It made me done. I didn't lose him that night. I realized I already had. News about Evan came in pieces through mutual friends, not because I asked, but because some people feel compelled to update you on the ruins of someone who once mattered to you. Apparently, he moved back in with his older sister. Apparently, he's still unemployed. Apparently, he and Lila haven't spoken since the HR fallout. Apparently, he's been struggling, which is code for spiraling. I didn't rejoice in any of it, but I didn't feel responsible for it either. You can care about someone once and still know their downfall isn't yours to fix. Evan made choices. Avon crossed lines. Evan destroyed the very thing he later begged to save. And I refuse to set myself on fire because he finally feels the burn. Last week, a mutual friend named Chelsea texted me out of nowhere. "Hey Harper, I ran into Evan today." I stared at the message for a long second before typing. "Okay." She sent another bubble immediately. He asked if I could reach out. He wants to meet you for coffee. Just for closure. Closure. That word always struck me as strange. People use it like it's a key to a locked door. But the truth is, closure is something you choose, not something you beg someone else to hand you. I typed back, "Please tell him no, and tell him to stop using mutual friends to get to me. If he keeps doing it, I'll file a no-contact request." Chelsea hesitated for a full minute before responding. "He's not in a good place. Losing you, losing his job, it wrecked him. I think he's trying to climb out of a hole, but he doesn't know how." I reread that message slowly. Then, his life fell apart because he made choices that tore it apart. That isn't mine to repair. Chelsea didn't argue. She just replied, "Understood. I'll tell him." And I haven't heard anything since. Last night, while I was folding laundry, my parents called to check in on me. They'd been supportive from the start. Calm, firm, exactly what I needed when everything came crashing down. Mom asked, "Are you okay, sweetheart? Really okay?" It didn't take me long to answer. "Yes, I am." And I meant it. Not in the performative way people sometimes use to avoid vulnerability, but in the quiet, steady way that rings true down to your bones. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't hurt anymore. I wasn't waiting for an apology or wishing for a different past. What I felt was peace. Solid, grounded, earned peace. I ended things the moment I realized I deserved more than the bare minimum someone else was willing to give. And that clarity saved me. Walking away wasn't dramatic, it wasn't petty, it wasn't vengeful. It was survival, self-respect, self-preservation. Some people think staying is strength. Sometimes walking away is stronger. And I walked. Tonight, as I turned off the lights and the apartment sank into soft darkness, I paused in the doorway of my bedroom. There was a time when that room held memories of us. Conversations whispered late at night, shared laughter, shared warmth. Now it holds only me. Not lonely, not abandoned, just whole. I climbed into bed, pulled the blanket over myself, and let the quiet settle. I don't need closure from Evan. I already have it. I gave it to myself the moment I listened to the part of me that whispered, "When someone shows you they don't value you, believe them, and walk." So I did. I'm Harper Llewellyn, 35, living alone, steady again, and learning to trust my own gut, especially when it tells me something I don't want to hear.